welcome to Fraudulent in the Bay. As you can see, not in the bay. The bay is currently still a work in progress, but hoping at some point this week, obviously I'm recording this on Sunday, but hopefully next week it'll be out and ready to be able to work in. But just thought I'd do a little introduction video out on a drive. We're going to West Wittering Beach, which is about 2.5 hours away from where we are at the moment. Just thought I'd give you a little bit of insight into life and just go from there. So as an introduction, I'm Ethan and I'm going to be the one who's mainly on the channel. The video is going to consist of, working on the cars, working on motorbikes. So I've got my motorbike in there. Just odd bits and bobs. A bit of insight to me. I used to work as a mechanic. I'm not a mechanic anymore. I'm a delivery driver, but the mechanic scene's never really left me. I've always really had a love for cars and passion for cars, and so have all my mates. So really that's just what this is all about. It's an insight into the passion of cars. I am a level 3 motor mechanic, level 2 engineer, but yeah, I'm a delivery driver for a company who I will be looking after their fleet of vehicles on the channel at the same time. It's going to be just like light servicing, light repairs, that sort of thing, nothing major, because I'm not going to be fully equipped at the moment for doing that. The story behind the channel is literally just going to be, it was an idea. Let's start YouTube. Friends of mine are going to get involved, just have a bit of a fun at the same time. So the idea behind the name Fraudulent, there is a big story behind that. My best friend of 14 years passed away from cancer in 2023. So what we'd done is he had a Ford Fiesta. It was only a 1.2 Z-Tech, nothing special, nothing dramatic. That was his car and he loved it to bits. So when we started doing car shows and all that, he didn't fit in. He didn't want to modify it too much, because at the end of the day it was just a 1.2 Fiesta. He didn't feel it was special enough, and a lot of clubs nowadays are very cliquey. If you haven't got the money for the upgrades, or you've not got a 20 grand car on finance and have all your parts are financed, you don't fit in. So this is how he felt. So what he done is he called his car Fraudulent. Play on words, being fraudulent because he didn't fit in, and obviously being a Ford, it was Ford_Ulent. Obviously what we've done is we've just joined it together. So what we've done is when he passed away, me and my partner brought his car in his memory, because I didn't want it just going to anyone because of the memories that we had in that car. So you'll see that on the channel at some points as well. What we've done is when he passed, we created a car club called Fraudulent in his memory, in his name. All of his friends and that who knew him got involved straight away. So the club sort of built up straight away, and we've got not too many members. I think we're in the 200 or 300 members, but we've got, let's say, the select 10 or 15 that always show up. So you'll start to see new faces, new people on the channel, and get to hear their experiences, see what they've done with their cars. Well, the car I'm in at the moment is a 2009 W204 Mercedes-Benz. It's the C350 diesel. It's the AMG line, or Sports Plus as a lot of people call them. So it's got the AMG seats, the AMG suspension. I brought this, I think it was back in February. I've had a few little bits here and there, the brake pipe go on it, which I had to repair. So you'll see little bits and bobs like that on the channel as well. Just, giving you an insight in the workings and the behinds of the car. By all means, use the videos as a guide, or sometimes not as a guide, depending on what happens. It might not always go to plan, but that's the joy of motor vehicles. Nothing ever goes to plan. But yeah, my other car I've got is a Ford Fiesta, funny enough. It's the EcoBoost, or EcoBoom as everyone knows them. I've done loads to it, spent a fortune on it. It's pushing, I think it's 198 brake at the moment, but when you're pushing that sort of power out of a 3-cylinder, wet belt engine. You know, it's kind of borderline what you want to be doing, and it gives me its good days and its bad days. I think the first time it broke down, the turbo went. The second time it broke down, I snapped a camshaft, which then obviously had to do the wet belt and all that at the same time. Luckily, the engine was fine on it, but then I think the third time is it decided to just completely obliterate the injectors. So yeah, that car has cost me a fortune, but then I decided to get something else to daily because it was getting too expensive. So my storyline of that is decided to buy a Mark 6 ST as a daily, which ended up being a replacement show car, which I didn't want it to be, but I fell in love with the car. I ended up spending quite a bit on that, brought all like dress up kit, had all brand new front end suspension, it was on coilovers. I ended up putting a second hand gearbox in it because 6 hours after buying it, the gearbox seized on me. So it wasn't the best investment, but you live and you learn, that sort of thing. And I think I ended up selling it in about May, June time. The piston ring started to go on it, so I was thinking I was putting in a litre of oil a week, and I was going to rebuild the engine because, like I said, I fell in love with the car, but the fuel economy on it was, you know, completely and utterly horrible. I absolutely loved it. I'll post a photo of it in the video as well. I'll tell you what, I fell in love with that car. So I ended up selling it as is. A bloke come up from Eastbourne, and again he fell in love with the car as well because it was such a beautiful car. Couldn't fault the car one bit, and I still to this day wish I'd kept it. But I sold that and ended up buying my first Merc, which was a 2007 CLK 220 diesel. And I always loved the CLKs. My dad had one back when I was like, I don't know, it must have been 10 or 11 maybe. And yeah, he had one, but he had the 1.8 compressor. And I fell in love with the CLKs from there. They just looked beautiful, always looked so sporty and aggressive. So when I saw this one come up for sale, this one I brought, I think I paid 1,500 quid for it. And yeah, it was sweet. We took that sort of everywhere. But my only biggest downfall with it was the boot was quite long, but you know, not very tall. So the whole reason I brought it was to daily, to, you know, use when we were going away and things like that. So when you can only fit like 1.5 suitcase in the back, it wasn't really very practical. But then when I sort of fell out of love with the car when I couldn't really do what I wanted with it. So I started looking on Facebook Marketplace, Auto Trader, all things like that, because I wanted an estate. I wanted an estate before I brought the CLK, but you know, it's sort of, I still went and brought it, which I'm glad I did, because I did enjoy driving that car, I did have a lot of fun in that car, but it just wasn't for me. So I spent ages and ages, like weeks turned into months, sort of looking on Facebook Marketplace, trying to find something to replace it. And people were asking silly money for stuff which had so much wrong with them. So as you do, you get a bit down, a bit disheartened when you're looking for a car, looking at cars. So I got to the point where I thought I was going to end up giving up. But luckily I didn't, because 15 minutes this had been on Facebook Marketplace, was just as I gave it one last refresh, about to just give up for ages and say, you know what, I'm just going to keep the CLK. And this come up, and I messaged the bloke, pardon me, I messaged the bloke straight away and was like, right, this, bear in mind this was on a Sunday night, very like similar to today. And I saw it come up on Facebook, messaged him straight away, look, is it still available? Can I find out a bit more about it, you know, keys, service history, all of that, you know, what spec is it? And then after he told me, I was like, right, can I come and view it tomorrow? So in the end, me and my dad went up to view this, and as soon as I saw it, I fell in love with it. I wasn't exactly looking for the 3 litre when I was looking, but when this come up, I was like, I had to have it. You know, insurance was like no different to what the CLK was, and it was like, I think it was £12 a month more on road tax. This is £53 a year road tax, something like that. So they're the cars I've got at the moment. My partner, she's got a Fiesta ST, the Mark 7, the 1.6 EcoBoost, but it's not. People get confused and hear EcoBoost and expect wet belt. Her one isn't. The 1.6 STs are not a wet belt, but they are quick, they are fun, they are lovely, and we've spent a good few hours, time, money, you know, all of that on getting it to where it is today. That's running, you know, your typical Mappa sort of standards. It's a stage 2, and yeah, you know, we tried to do a his and hers. I done my stickers first, and then we sort of really liked the idea, and that's when she wanted hers done. So we decided on a colour scheme for her ones, brought them all, and we stuck just a patch of them on, maybe 5 or 6 or so, on the side of the car to start with, just to see how it goes, because she didn't know if she wanted it, you know, big like mine, or just a small little patch of it. So what we've done is, this must have been, I can't remember the date now, but it was back in 2023. So we done this patch, we went off to a car meet. It was mainly, we done it to get some opinions on it, and quite a few people liked the colour scheme, liked the idea. And the worst part about it was not about the stickers or about the car, that was the night that Jamie passed away. So we'd been out at the car meet, me and a few of his mates at the time, you know, we all met up because Jamie was in hospital at the time, and we all said, you know, we don't know what we would do, we don't know what would happen if, you know, he never come back out. I ended up with a phone call on that Sunday morning, I think it must have been about 7 o'clock in the morning, from his mum, that he'd passed away. And it was horrible, it was heartbreaking. So what I ended up doing was to clear my mind and just get myself out of me sort of thing. I went outside and started doing the rest of the stickers on Dana's car, and that is how we got to the pattern of where we got now. Because I think I spent an hour and a half stickering each side, making sure it was perfect, because yeah, I needed something just to take my mind off of things. But I think everything we're doing at the moment, like the club and all that, because Jamie was always a people person, he loved people, he loved the car scene especially, so this is why it all came about in his memory. And if he was here, I don't think anything would be much different as to what we're doing now, but instead obviously we would be doing it with him instead. So I think he's proud of everything that we've done for him and what we've become, what us as friends have done and things like that. So yeah, I'd like to say he's proud. We do a lot of raising money for the Royal Marsden whilst we're out at car shows, car events, things like that. We have donation pots, we do some donation events. Like last year we done a cars, cake and coffee event, and all the proceeds went to the Royal Marsden. And we do things like that for them mainly because if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't have got as much time with Jamie as we did. You know, I saw him through his pain, his struggle, his first cancer diagnosis when he got leukemia. I can't remember after how long, but he did beat the leukemia. And they gave us that time with him, they helped him get through that. But unfortunately, because he had used all his strength fighting the leukemia and getting through and getting better, the lymphoma just ended up taking over, and that is what took him in the end, unfortunately. But if it wasn't for the Royal Marsden, I don't think we would have got as much time with him as we did. So for that, I thank the Royal Marsden so much, which is why we try and give back as much to them as possible, because of the time they allowed us to have with him, and you know, grow up more with him and things like that. For that, Royal Marsden, on behalf of me and everyone else who knew Jamie, we thank you. You know, life is precious, life is short, so make the most of it whilst you're here. You know, tell your friends you love them. Some people are like, oh, you know, don't tell my mates I love them. Tell them. Just tell them you love them. And spend as much time with your mates as possible doing the things you love, because you never know when might be the last time. So, which is why this channel started. It's going to be, you know, always either just me doing little bits of my own, or when friends come round with their cars, you know, and we try and work things out together, it will be having a laugh, having a joke. You know, you'll see the side of fixing things, and you'll see the side of fixing things, or as we like to call, a temporary bodge. And I call it a temporary bodge in quotation marks, because 9 times out of 10 the temporary bodges either never get rectified, or they outlast the real fixes. So you'll see the good side of mechanics, and the side where you've seriously got to have a think and work out what to do, where to go, and how you can make things better. So I hope you enjoy the videos that are going to be coming up on the channel. You stick around, because hopefully, you know, don't forget this channel's fresh, but hopefully in some time more projects will come up. You know, we might, you know, end up getting a project car for the bay, start, you know, fixing it, either flogging it or driving it, taking it to shows, you know, that sort of thing. We don't know what's going to come. All we know is whatever happens, we're going to have a good time doing it. So all I say is, please give a like, give a subscribe, and stick around for the journey. We're about an hour and 52 minutes away from West Wittering Beach. So what I'm going to do is we're going to do a little like video montage of the drive down there, you know, so you can just see a bit of the drive. We'll do a little follow-up video when we get down there. You know, stay on the video and see you in a bit.
I'm gonna wait if I gotta wait for you, babe. I'm gonna wait if I gotta wait for you. I'm gonna wait if I gotta wait for you, babe. Lights in my face, I don't wanna taste. I just wanna go back to that place. Lights they hit my face, and I see your face.
Right, so we made it to West Wittering Beach. We just had a bit of fun. We tried to park up over there in that sandy bit, and ended up getting the car stuck in the sand. Luckily, the car is fine, and even though I booted it in the sand, it's not dirty, so quite lucky there. But yeah, there might be bits missing out of this video, and you know, audio clips cut, but on the way up here I did go on a bit of a word vomit for about, you know, almost half an hour. So yeah, I don't think you want to be put through listening to all of that. So yeah, just bear with me, bear with us, because this is our first time doing anything. It'll be the first video on the channel and first time doing YouTube. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. Like, subscribe, and see you in the next one.